Welcome back to the Trackstar Podcast, episode 2. I'm your host, Jack Coyne. This episode, another one that takes place here in New York City. We're talking about hip-hop's origin story. In this episode, we're going to go up to hip-hop's birthplace, 1520 Cedric Avenue. We're going to talk to 3 really special guests. Our first guest, Debra Harris. She's a hip-hop historian, a tour guide. She has so much knowledge, and she's the one who's actually going to take us into the rec room where the very first hip-hop party happened. She's also my friend Craig's mom, and she's awesome.
Like, yeah, I better say that or I won't be able to walk these streets. I'm going to need security.
Later on, we're going to talk to Fat Joe, legendary New York City rapper, someone who was born and raised in the Bronx at the same time that hip-hop got its start.
When they did that, I was in every club. I could not believe they shouted me out on a record.
And we're going to talk to legendary rap group De La Soul.
The dudes had that voice of sweet, roll, funky now.
Oh, girl.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Check.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Trackstar, let's go. I wish the world could be in these headphones right now. I'm on the show. How fun.
We're off to a very hot start here. Do you know something about old school hip-hop, early hip-hop?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll see. It doesn't matter. No pressure.
Oh, boy.
But here you go.
I said the hip, hop, the hip.
Rappers Delight, the Sugarhill Gang.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Debra Harris, the founder of Hush Hip Hop Tours here in New York City.
Tell me about the Sugarhill Gang.
The Sugarhill Gang is a group that was formulated from the state of New Jersey. However, one of the members was a bodyguard for a legendary group here in New York City, specifically the Bronx, the Cold Crush Brothers.
Do you know when that song came out?
1979.
So hip-hop goes back to the 70s.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're 1 for 1.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you're a gambler,
Not really.
because it's double or nothing.
Oh, boy. I'm nervous now. Sheesh. Okay, let's do it. Fresh, fry, and bold. That's the Cold Crush Brothers, JDL, Tony, Kaz, and Charlie Chase was the DJ, one of the first Spanish DJs. Yeah.
First 2 artists on this playlist, Sugarhill Gang and Cold Crush Brothers. Sugarhill Gang because I think of them as like the most famous early rap group, and Cold Crush Brothers because their stories are very much intertwined. Debra talked about it a little bit, but I want to explain it more in depth. So let's go to the studio for a short segment on how these 2 groups are connected. Rapper's Delight was released in September 1979. It was rap's breakout hit, the first time the genre ever charted, peaking at number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100. The story behind this famous song is actually really interesting. Remember how Debra said one of the Sugarhill Gang's members was a bodyguard for the Bronx group, the Cold Crush Brothers? In the late 1970s, the Cold Crush Brothers were already an influential crew in the Bronx, but they hadn't yet broken into commercial recordings. One day, Sylvia Robinson, co-founder of Sugarhill Records, approached their bodyguard, known as Big Bank Hank, about a record she was assembling called Rapper's Delight. Hank wasn't really a rapper, and he didn't have his own rhymes. So he looked to Cold Crush MC Grandmaster Kaz's notebook, which included full unreleased verses. According to Kaz, Hank used these lyrics without asking for permission or giving credit to Kaz. The reason this story is so interesting to me is because it shows how much of early hip-hop's history existed outside of studio recordings. The Sugarhill Gang, a group from New Jersey, may have been the first to bring rap to the mainstream, but hip-hop didn't start in the studio. It started years earlier, at parties in the Bronx, and many key figures, like the Cold Crush Brothers, were shaping its sound before it ever hit wax. Where are we right now, by the way?
So right now we are in the west side of the Bronx. We are really close to the birthplace of hip hop, which is 1520 Cedric Avenue. If you look to the right, that is the Harlem River. Behind us is River Park Towers, and on the other side is actually a little, I guess that's Sugarhill Harlem.
So what's 1520 Cedric Avenue? Why is that an important address?
Yeah, so 1520 is where DJ Kool Herc and his sister grew up, and that is documented as the first location for a hip-hop party. So after they gave this party on August 11th, 1973, it kind of like exploded and took off. And little by little, I don't know how often it was because I wasn't there, but the frequency had to grow because it outgrew the space and the capacity for the rec room in the building.
So when people talk about, a couple years ago, we had Hip Hop 50th anniversary Hip Hop. It was 50th anniversary of the party that happened right here.
Yes. The party that happened right here, August 11th, 1973. This is what kind of catapulted to what we now know as hip-hop artists from across the globe.
After we finish this, we got to go in there.
Okay, I'm down if you down. It's not open to the public.
But you have a connection.
I'm from the Bronx, so that in itself should be enough, but let's see. It doesn't happen that often, but, we're here with you guys, so. So right now, we're about to enter the rec room where Kool Herc and his sister gave the first party back on August 11th, 1973. And, this is sacred ground. Like, this is like so many artists of not just rappers, but just the whole concept of hip hop are standing on the shoulders of this location right here, And when we walk in, you'll see some of the tributes that they have on the wall, some beautiful art, paying homage to, some of the people who were there. Now, you can't just it's not enough room to have everyone, but, some people are definitely stand out more than others. And it's also a great way to kind of like capture just the scene. So if you take away the images of the people, what they were trying to do, and I think they did a good job of, was capturing like what the streets felt like, what it looked like, the neighborhood, like what was happening. If you look at the picture, maybe you can tell a little bit about what was going on. So you see bicycles, right? Yeah. You see the style of the vehicle at that time. Someone has a camera. Might have been Joe Conzo. If that's Joe Conzo, shout out to Joe Conzo. Joe Conzo was one of the first photographers. They consider him to have taken the baby pictures of hip hop because he is the one who was there
early days. So who's this guy?
So right behind us with the blue shirt, that's DJ Kool Herc, and right behind him is his sister Cindy. So they were actual residents of the building, and right here is considered like the courtyard, but inside is the rec room, which is where the first hip hop party, documented hip hop party took place. And let's just check it out.
So this is it.
This is it.
This is where it all started. There was a party in here.
And from what I was told, Herc was set up right here. And if you go home and maybe, I don't know if there were any, because video cameras weren't affordable at that time, and not everyone had one. And then if you happen to be at this party, are you really thinking about a camera? You trying to get in?
You didn't realize you were at the birth of hip hop.
Right, you didn't realize.
You was going to a party. And
a person who may have had a camera or any kind of equipment might have been too old for what they were doing down here. So it's like, I'm going over there to film some birds or something, you know what I mean? Because this wasn't really connecting. But if you were here at one of the first or few parties, I think that it was a special time. I can only imagine.
It's amazing, like the history is right here. It's right here in New York City. Like the birthplace, it started.
Yes. And
the whole thing, hip hop is huge.
Huge. And if you stand in this room, it's like, like maybe when you're young and you stand in a room like this, it seems so big. But as an adult, it's like something so huge just started right here. So it's bigger than who started it. It was really just probably more of the vessel that was used, but it was something that was necessary and it was going to happen. And I'm just happy that it happened here in the Bronx.
I can't believe we got to go inside the actual birthplace of hip hop. Let's get back into the playlist with another artist who Debra happens to be friends with.
Clap your hands, everybody, if you got
Curtis Blow.
what it takes. Cause I'm
Curtis Blow, and I want you to know that these are the braids. Yeah, Curtis Blow. A good friend of mine also.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me about Curtis Blow.
Curtis Blow is a b-boy. He also was one of the first hip rappers to go gold. He was in the movie Cold Crush Brothers. He's from Harlem, but because hip hop was so important and got its footprints in the Bronx. He interacted with, Harlem is right there. So Harlem and the Bronx is not unimaginable for it to be like first cousins. But Curtis Blow was one of the first to do many things.
Did you listen to a lot of hip hop? And have you always listened to a lot of hip hop, or did you get more into it more recently?
No. So I grew up in a neighborhood where one of the first indoor locations, not after this, there was a few places that would allow some of the guys who were putting on these kind of parties to go indoors, and that was the PAL. So the PAL on 183rd and Webster, I lived on 184th, but to get to 183rd and Webster, you had to go down our block, which is called Snake Hill. So I used to see all these fly girls and fly guys going down the hill, and I really wanted to go so bad, but I was too young. I was too young to go. But it was one of those things that you felt it in the air if you was close enough to it.
It's always been just a part of the culture for you.
Yes.
All right, I got to start making these songs a little bit harder.
Go. You don't want to be broke. You don't want to have to take out a loan, a PPP.
The breaks is a pun. Breaks means multiple things, catching a break in life, but it's also a reference to the breakbeat technique. The drum parts of old funk and soul records were often pulled out, and that became the basis for hip-hop sampling and the beat in early hip-hop records, which has gone on to, that's everything you know about hip-hop. It comes from that sampling. For the next song, I want to talk about another DJ who expanded on Kool Herc's techniques, someone you probably know, and a song that you've definitely heard before.
Don't push me,
The Message, Grandmaster, Fast and the Furious 5.
What's up with these guys?
That's a legendary group. They were one of the first hip-hop groups inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Shout out Rock and Roll. And they are, Grandmaster Flash is one of the DJs who brought in the whole concept of mixing. Not scratching, but mixing.
Okay. One of the coolest things about making this podcast so far is that we can be working on an episode about a specific theme, and all of a sudden we get the opportunity to talk to someone else who can add to the conversation, which is what happened when we were making this hip-hop episode. Debra was just talking about mixing, and we got the chance to meet a legendary New York City DJ and record producer who I figured would be better at explaining mixing and how it works than myself. This is 9-time Grammy Award winner, Mark Ronson. Can you explain how the quick mix works and Kool Herc and those old DJing techniques? How does it actually happen?
So
turntables.
Two turntables, a mixer in the middle. In the beginning, Kool Herc kind of invented something called the merry-go. He called it the merry-go-round technique. So there was a part of a song, James Brown, whatever, that everybody loved to dance to. He would make it go on longer and longer because it might only be 15 seconds on the record. So he would have two copies, and he'd kind of have it playing on one side, then cue it up in the next side and go back and forth. But it was Grandmaster Flash who later invented really methodically holding the record, dropping it exactly on beat, lining up the records by putting, markers or stickers to show exactly where the downbeat were, and essentially invented the loop. Grandmaster Flash would have one record playing on this side, ba-boom, down, and then cue it up, so he'd then go ba-boom, down. I'm saying very obvious shit, but he would keep that loop going, and that's what the MCs in the party started to rhyme over, and that's essentially the birth of sort of hip-hop and loops as we know it.
It's one of those things that we're so familiar with the way the internet works, your phone, the computers, that it wasn't that long ago that you had to actually physically do these things and manipulate it. You didn't have a MacBook where you could just...
You didn't have a MacBook, you didn't have a loop button, you had to literally keep looping it, and you would visually make these cues. Okay, I spun it back 3 revolutions, the arrow's here, I can drop it. And it's just incredible that they basically invented what we know as, music for the last 30 years.
So hip-hop doesn't necessarily start with rappers. It starts more with DJs.
Yes. Absolutely.
And Grandmaster Flash is a DJ.
He's a DJ. He had 5 MCs.
5 different MCs, most famous of which is...
Melle.
There we go.
I would say.
There we go.
Melle, absolutely. I better say that or I won't be able to walk these streets. I'm going to need security. No, but Melle, yes, he's the one who, he was like the face of the group.
The Message was a big hit. It was number 62 on the Billboard Hot 100. But on the streets of New York, it was an even bigger hit. Just ask Fat Joe.
The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. I remember coming down my project building and every floor, every apartment played it. It came outside, the guy walked by with the box, the car rolled by with the... That's when I knew. That's when you know it's a super hit.
Yeah.
On a day like today in New York City, you hear the same record enough, you like, oh, that's what's rocking.
I had to play The Message because it's a hugely important song in the history of hip-hop. The Message helped transition hip-hop from party, fun, dance music to something that had a serious social commentary and message behind it. Duke Booty Fletcher, who was one of the rappers at the beginning of the song, has written that song was a response to the 1980 New York City transit strike. The Message, at its core, is so important to what hip-hop became. It changed what MCs talked about on records, and it's something that's still hugely relevant to this day in hip-hop. For the next song, another track by Melle. Let's get into it.
Grandmaster Melle.
We already talked about it. But this brings you back.
Bass. Ooh, white lines, vision, dreams, and passion going through my mind. The more I see, the more I do. White lies. That was crazy. It's his favorite song. His player. He went viral one day doing a dance to this. But you hear this they talking about? And the music was like futuristic. It's sad to say because they talk about cocaine, but this was like God music. When we heard this was like the world was changing.
Yeah.
Everybody was just rapping, like chanting, and Melle just took the gift, the art of storytelling to another level with the message, with this, with that. He was telling stories. You know what's so crazy? Somebody called me the other day and asked me about them, like a brand who was talking about doing business with them.
Yeah.
I said, bro, these guys are like U2 or Bono.
Yeah.
They're in the fucking Hall of Fame. Like, don't even talk to me like they're human beings. Like, you know, that's fucking Rod Stewart. Like, to the hip hop, that's who they are.
Yeah.
They created the the sound, the this, the that, you know them, know nothing. That's how I view them.
I just want to take a second to pause and think about how cool it is that we got to talk to Fat Joe right around the corner from here for like an hour about old school hip hop and how passionate he is about that whole thing. One of the coolest experiences I've had making this show was talking to Fat Joe. Before we move on to the next song, a quick message from our sponsor, Rivian. As you guys know from previous episodes, I love my Rivian. Today I want to talk about a unique feature of this car that a lot of other cars don't have, the Rivian app. It's the best way to track the amount of charge you have on the car. If you want to plan a trip from home before you actually go on your drive, you can do that. It'll tell you exactly where to go. If you need to charge along the way, Rivian is automatically going to set up charging stations. You can control the temperature from your cabin remotely. So if it's the summer and it's blazing hot and you want to cool your car down before you jump in, you can do that. The connection between the app and the car is seamless. When I walk up to the vehicle, it automatically senses that I'm there and unlocks the door for me. I hop right in. The seat adjusts to my perfect position. I'm telling you, Rivian is the greatest car in the world. If you don't believe me, go demo drive one today. I guarantee you're going to love it. All right, back to the show. Okay, let's go back to Debra, and for the first time, get a female MC on this playlist. This song is from 1981.
This is the way we rock the house.
This is Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. No, this Shah Rock. Oh my goodness, yeah, this is Shah Rock and the what was the name? Funky 4 plus one more.
Funky 4
yeah,
plus
one
one.
of the first female rappers.
Yeah, Shah Rock.
Shah Rock.
So, and they were affiliated with Sugarhill Gang or something like that?
Maybe, but you know what they really did that was groundbreaking? They were one of the first rap musical guests for Saturday Night Live. And you know who put that together? Blondie. Rapture.
So Blondie was a punk rocker, basically, but she had an early sort of hip-hop inspired record, right? With
Yeah.
Rapster, she was rapping.
Yeah, she was rapping, and they gave her credit for bringing that over to her audience. And like downtown was a scene, more artsy and graffiti and Basquiat and all of those things. But it kind of merged in its own way.
The next group are among the best street rappers in the country. Please welcome my friends from the Bronx, the Funky Four plus one more.
Must have been such a fascinating time in culture, in music culture.
Yeah, I imagine that you could probably even see it. Like it was like a presence. For instance, when these jams started happening, before you got to where it was, you can hear it. And in front of you were other little groups and crews from all different parts of the Bronx or even Brooklyn, depending on where you grew up. So it was like an energy.
And it wasn't just music. Hip-hop encompasses a lot more than just music.
Absolutely.
It's the graffiti, it's the clothes, it's the style, it's the break dancing.
Yes.
I want to pause playing songs for a second to talk about hip-hop culture. And I want to talk about a movie called Wild Style from the 80s that was essential to explaining this culture to the masses. Let's go back to the studio for a little essay on Wild Style. Oftentimes, you hear the word hip-hop being used interchangeably with rap. We've pretty much been doing that in this episode. But while rap refers specifically to the musical style we've been talking about, the term hip-hop often means so much more. It encapsulates the entire culture surrounding this music. The visual art, the dancing, the fashion. One of the earliest comprehensive documentations of this culture was Charlie Ahearn's 1982 film, Wild Style. It's regarded as the first hip-hop movie. The name Wild Style comes from a graffiti technique. It was a musical narrative film, but one that was loosely scripted and shot with a verite style to capture the authentic feel of New York hip-hop in the early 80s. It featured rising legends like Busy Bee, the Cold Crush Brothers, Fab Five Freddy, and Grandmaster Flash, with a soundtrack crafted by Fab Five Freddy and the other half of Blondie, guitarist Chris Stein. Here's a clip from the movie to give you a sense of what it's all about. For those listening but not watching, we see graffiti legend Lee Quinones making his mark on an amphitheater wall, followed by Grandmaster Flash showing off his mixing skills, and then a group of b-boys breaking out into a dance session in the middle of the park. For Debra, it was this part of the culture, dancing, that first drew her in and gave her an entry point into participating in hip-hop.
Like dancing, when I got involved and was able to go outside and be around it, it was like the little segments of, little ciphers happening over there. But you didn't have to be a break dancer to be there. You could still appreciate what the DJ was doing. But it was a big presence of the dancers doing what they were doing and the DJs kind of catering to the dancers, break dancers, and just the regular people who wanted to dance. No. I don't even know what you're going to say, but none of the above. Absolutely not. Plus, I didn't have the skills. Hitting these streets, you feel this?
Well, you got to put the cardboard down.
Cardboard? What's that going to do to help your bones if you fall?
Okay, so Debra talking about dancing, amazing. Fat Joe talking about dancing, even better. Is it true that there would be guys like in the park on the corner with turntables, speakers out?
It was illegal. So they would go from park to park. I don't know how they thought, because every time they came out, thousands of kids would come.
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost, the way they explain it to you for real, right? Because Easter's coming, is when you see these movies about Jesus Christ coming and people just following them up mountains. That's what they throw the music on over there. We would leave this alone and go over there. Everybody would go over there. So every night, the cops would come and shut it down because hard-working Americans was across the street talking about there's 10,000 kids outside blasting music. So when they finally got too many complaints, they came, shut it down. So the next day, somebody thought they were doing something smarter and they would do it over here or over here. But it was the illest thing in the world. Yes, they would bring out the equipment, big, giant speakers. Then they would plug into the light poles. Like every street has like this.
Right here.
That's electricity.
Yeah.
So they would find a way to connect it, and that's how you would charge up the sound system. It was incredible, very innovative. And that's how you learn the new dances too.
Yeah.
So I would go, we call them jams, block parties. I would go to the other side of the Bronx or Harlem, and I would see the new dance, and then we'll go back to the block and start doing the new dance. And that's how it was no social media. It was no other way to find out, but you had to be there, soak it up. Like we would stand there and just watch somebody doing the new dance.
Like that's an innovator. Right
No,
there.
we would watch them for hours. We would literally stand there like this and then go back to our hood and start doing the dance. It's crazy.
For song number 6 on the playlist, we're going to get into one of hip-hop's first superstar groups. This is a song from 1983.
Oh man, you're giving me too many cues. Oh man, I know this song.
These guys were really big.
Run-D.M.C. Yeah. I'm too close to the birthplace to fail.
And they came from Long
Queens.
Island, Queens.
They came from Queens, Hollis. Don't let them tell you. Who told you they came from Long Island? These guys rep Hollis.
Is Queens an important part of hip-hop's story?
Absolutely,
How
yes.
so?
Because, like if you ask anybody that contributed to hip-hop from Queens, their first thing that's going to come out their mouths are Queens get the money. They made it profitable.
Interesting. And you had like Russell Simmons and
Right, so
those guys,
one
the
of the
business
first,
guys.
yeah, one of the first record labels that kind of like became a household name. There were other record
LL
labels,
Cool J,
LL
also
Cool
from
J,
Queens, right?
shout out, yes. A lot of the females, Salt and Pepper.
Run-D.M.C. was managed by Russell Simmons, and in 1984, Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin got together to co-found Def Jam Records, obviously hugely famous record label. Their first 2 acts were the Beastie Boys and this guy.
I like it. It's the best, the greatest, the GOAT. The reason that the term GOAT was created, greatest of all time, LL Cool J.
Tell me about LL
But I
Cool J.
need a radio inside my hand. Don't need to offend all you citizens. But I kick my volume way past that. And I mean, my story is rough. My neighborhood is tough. Yo, that's LL Cool J, man. He's my idol. It's the reason I rap.
You were a fan of LL. You listened to him growing up as a teenager and stuff, and then you got to work with him later. What was that like?
That's like
insane,
one of the
right?
craziest part of my stories is, just being such a fan. I mean, when they used to play, they'd be like brand new, the radio be like brand new LL Cool J. I would stop the car in the highway, open the door. Right? You know how many people I argue with saying LL was the greatest? And then to actually work with him, and now we're actually really good friends. Our families are friends. That is like the illest. That is one of the illest stories about my career and my life.
For the next song, it's time to move into a whole new era, the 1990s. We're going to talk to Paz and Maseo from De La Soul. Obviously, a legendary early hip-hop group, but we're going to talk to them at first about their friends, another really legendary early hip-hop group.
He giving the uh-oh vibe, you know what I mean?
That's it. That's a wrap. We got it. Before we start with the music, can you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Paz.
I'm Maseo, and we are De La Soul.
Yes.
Let's just kick it off with a relatively easy one. Who wants to start?
You can go first.
Okay. This is Electric Relaxation by Tribe Called Quest.
Tell me about that song, that artist.
Yeah, I was in the studio a lot with Tribe. All of us, they would be in our sessions, we'd be in their sessions. That particular song, Q-Tip played me a version of it where he was rhyming about walking into a Korean store to buy something and the lady kept looking at him. And then maybe a month later, he had changed it. And I was like, yo, why you changed it? And he's like, I think this would represent the music a little bit more better. So yeah, that's a little behind the scenes on that record.
Wow. We're going to play a song that's not actually a hip-hop song, but informed a lot of hip-hop records in history. It's been sampled over 185 times, according to whosampled.com. It's a song by the Tom Tom Club, Genius of Love. Tom Tom Club was like a spin-off group of Talking Heads. It was founded by drummer Chris France and bassist Tina Weymouth, married couple. And they just made one of the most fun records of all time, a record that if you were at a roller skating rink in the 80s, you probably got down to. I know Paz and Maseo did.
Ah, man. Tom Tom Club, Genius of Love. Classic.
Talk to me about that song.
A big, huge roller skating record. Very sexy roller skating record.
Yeah.
A lot of good memories behind that. Block parties in Brooklyn. Yeah, that was a classic. That's a classic.
Like even a lot of the early rap records, they were artists recreating that joint.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Dr. Jekyll being actually Andre Harrell, God bless the dead. He was a part of that group, and he made a song out of that. Who else made a song out of that? Oh man, it's someone else.
Tom Club.
Well, Grandmaster Flash and Furious
Grandmaster
5.
Flash and the Furious 5. That's right.
It's nasty.
It's nasty.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Right.
So,
They did a Mariah Carey version later on too, like in
that's
2000
right.
or something.
Yeah,
That was
that's
a
right.
crazy
That's
pop
right.
smash.
amazing,
Right.
amazing.
That song to me, like, is such a. It's just over and over and over again used.
Was it Fantasy?
Fantasy.
Fantasy
yeah,
by
with
Mariah Carey
and
with
the remix, ODB.
With ODB.
Yeah, man.
Baby, baby, come on, baby, come on, baby, come on.
When you walk by every night, talking sweet and looking fine, I get kinda hectic inside. Baby,
Another classic, out of a classic. Yep.
Definitely.
Classic,
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
classic, out of classic.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
you guys are teenagers. You're in the record store. Take me back.
Oh, discovering
Anything, any kind of sampling, any kind of
Yeah.
old music.
I mean, once we got into the first album and just going into record stores, it could be like knowledge of the artist. It could be, the cover looks interesting. You know what I mean?
That was me always.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be all those components. Let alone when you was able to have certain stores that had a little record player and you can like listen and preview stuff. So definitely. Man.
Yeah, that was more my era. Definitely when I was shopping for records since 11, 12 years old. Being able to go in the store and actually play it in a designated set for yourself.
Yeah.
And having all these feelings and emotions behind this music around strange people in the store. Losing your cool, yelling, having loud outbursts. Yo, this is crazy.
One of my favorite things about making this episode was like the New York of it all. Talking to Fat Joe about my experience growing up in New York, his experience growing up in the Bronx. Hip hop's like the biggest genre in the world right now, and it started here just over 50 years ago in the Bronx at a party in that rec room that we got to visit, that Debra took us to. That's so cool that we get to do this. I never imagined myself 5 years ago like walking into the rec room of the first documented hip hop party and talking to someone who knows so much about it, and then talking to Fat Joe about his experience growing up around that, talking to De La Soul about records that they were listening to in the early 90s. That's the fun thing about making this show, and something that we want to continue to do week to week, make connections between all the different conversations we're having with artists, with regular people on the street who are passionate about music, passionate about specific genres and songs and artists, and sharing those stories. We see those connections happen, play out week to week, and I think that's what we want this show to be all about, highlighting those connections and telling the stories that people are incredibly passionate to share. That's it. Hip hop, origin story in 10 songs, episode 2. Stay tuned for next week. I think we're going to talk about the Great American Songbook next time. I'm not sure. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys around. Trackstar is a presentation of public opinion created by me, Jack Coyne, Kieran Coyne, and Henry Cornaros. Written and produced by Noah John. Edited and produced by Haley Sobel. Theme and original composition by Kieran Coyne. Mixing by Ryan Durgans. Our agent is Joanna Orland at UTA. Thanks for listening. See you next Wednesday.